What's going on YouTube? It's Teach back again with another video, and today we're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and our season preview series, and hopefully you will enjoy today's video. If you do, be sure to hit that like button. It really would help me and my channel out a ton. If you're new around here, you want to see more football content, we're getting so close to the regular season, just hit that big red subscribe button. And of course, tell me what you think about the Raiders down below in the comments section. Do you think that offensive line holds up? How many wins do you think they get? Who are some X factors and some games you're looking forward to watching the Raiders play this year? Love to have your thoughts. It's a conversation down below in the comment section as I respond to just about every comment. So let me hear your thoughts down below. If you're new to the series, welcome to it. Be sure to go back and check out our previous videos so far. Maybe your favorite teams in there, a division rival, or you just want to talk some more football with us, and we would love to have you. So we'll start talking about my win range and my projected win total. 8 to 11, a little bit of a wider range there, but I think this is definitely a team that can go in around 500 and then, maybe eke out a few more wins at the double-digit win mark. I got them right now at 10-7, and that is last in the AFC West. I think we all think that division's awesome, right? So I'm not breaking any new ground here, but I think all 4 teams can win 10 games. I legitimately do, and I mean, I did it in my, early season record predictions video. We're going to be doing an updated version of that, see if they can hold on to that mark, but the offense is legit. Now I'll kind of go position group by position group, kind of give you my full thoughts why I think they can be a 10-7 team. Derek Carr is awesome. Last year was the best year of his career, certainly since 2016 when he was an MVP candidate prior to the injury. And now working with Josh McDaniels, I am super optimistic about that. Also, think about the Raiders last year, the John Gruden situation, the Henry Ruggs drama, like the Damon Arnett blip in the middle of the year. Yeah, like there was so much that this team overcame. So some stability would feel like it makes this team that much better. And it's a huge plus in the right direction. And hopefully Josh McDaniels brings that. And that offense with Derek Carr at center of it, at the QB spot, that's going to be really fun. Running back room, they just cut Kenyon Drake. I think that's fine. Zamir White, by the end of the year, might be RB1. But right now, I think it's still Josh Jacobs. But those two alone, feeling good about that. We'll come back to the offensive line. Davante Adams, the headline addition, that and Chandler Jones. But Davante Adams is the biggest plus this team made this year. Maybe Josh McDaniels too. But best wide receiver in football right now, the cleanest release off the line. It feels like he is impossible to press, and probably the best route runner in football as well. So yeah, dynamic weapon, and of course college teammates with Derek Carr, so fair amount of chemistry there. Darren Waller is a tight end, but these pass catching options, that dude's a freak and kind of one of one at the tight end position, especially as Travis Kelce gets a little older. Waller becomes this, outlier, especially he plays out wide, but Kyle Pitts is essentially a wide receiver who's strong enough to play in line. Waller does it a fair amount, especially in this new, Josh McDaniels offense. Like, if Darren Waller, is he going to be in line as much as, Rob Gronkowski was? So that's a question I want to see answered. But Darren Waller, one of the best tight ends in football. I don't need to say a whole lot there. Hunter Renfrow, one of the best slot wideouts. Again, I don't need to say a whole lot there. That's an awesome threat to have. And those top 3 is a really nice pass-catching course. Question marks the rest of the way, but that top 3 is as good as it gets. The offensive line is where the question marks kind of come into play. Colton Miller's become a really nice left tackle. The retirement of Denzel Good is a huge loss, especially when, I encourage you to go to our lads. When it's John Simpson as your starting left guard, that's a concern. And then something called Lester Cotton playing right guard. Raise your hand if you've heard of Lester Cotton before. Yeah, if you raise your hand, you're an absolute liar. So that's obviously concerning. Even Andre James, the replacement to Rodney Hudson, who got a ton of love from the organization, John Green, that wasn't great last year. So you have Dylan Parham, who I thought they got a great value on in the 3rd round, but he can only fix one of those spots. And then the question mark is like, okay, what do you do with the other one? So we'll talk about Alex Leatherwood later. Him and Brandon Parker battling out for that right tackle spot. I'm also hearing Thayer Munford getting a little bit of love. 7th round pick, but I thought that was a good draft value too. But still a day 3 tackle, and the lesser of the 2 Ohio State tackles that came out of last year's draft class. So I don't know what they want to do. And again, Lester Cotton is starting at right guard. So is it the best move to have Leatherwood kick back inside to play guard and have Brandon Parker and Munford battle it out for right tackle? I just don't know that. But outside of Colton Miller, question marks across the rest of the entire offensive line. That's what really holds back the Raiders in my eyes, that and their secondary, which we'll switch over to the defense now. Pass rush is awesome. I mean, Chandler Jones, Max Crosby, that's a fantastic duo. Jonathan Hankins, Bilal Nichols leaves something to be desired there in the middle, but if they're healthy, specific Nichols can be, a run stuffer, big guy there in the middle, plug it up. Okay, feel good about that, especially once what that could do for the linebacking position where Divine Diablo, the safety turn linebacker coming from Virginia Tech, I cannot wait to see what that looks like. So hopeful that that brings an additional plus in the coverage department, and then also Denzel Perryman, who's played a lot of football, bounced around, but NFL caliber starter, maybe not anything more than that, but can be league average. And then let's go ahead and start talking about these corners, because that's where my concerns really start. Trayvon Mullen, you're hoping, back half of his rookie contract now, he'll take that step forward, but no guarantee. And especially going into a Patrick Graham defense, which, disciple of Bill Belichick, there is a good mix of zone and man, but compared to Gus Bradley, where you're living in cover 3, the assignment is naturally going to be harder for Trayvon Mullen. And then Rocky Ya-Sin on the other side, who had his best year of his career last year, but that was in a cover 2 heavy Matt Eberflus system where he's living in the flat. So what does that mean? But also they have Nate Hobbs as, a scheduled starter. So one of the best nickel corners last year. But again, I go back to, and I'm not saying this is going to be, that Nate Hobbs is going to be bad this year, but Gus Bradley has always had his nickel guys grade well when it comes to Pro Football Focus, and those guys rack up tackles because in that cover 3, nickel guys are covering the flat. So the assignment's not as elaborate as, what Mike Hilton was doing with Pittsburgh or even Cincinnati this past year. So it's just a different way of looking and judging, and the assignment overall is just different. So can Nate Hobbs be just as good, because he was awesome last year as a mid-round pick and a huge plus to a secondary that needed it big time. So if Hobbs sticks, you need still the steps forward from Rocky Ya-Sin and Trayvon Mullen. Not saying it can't happen, but there's definitely some question marks there. And even where there is strengths with Nate Hobbs, how does he take to the new defense? And then the safety spot, Jonathan Abrams been, a disappointment and not worth being a first-round pick. I'm sorry, I wish I could say something else. And then Teron Harmon's kind of the backup, and, he's continuously getting older and slower. So he's fine as a third safety, I suppose, but not someone you want to see trotting out there all the time. And then lastly, Trevon Merrick, not a former first-round pick. I thought it should have been a former first-round pick. Second-round pick. They got a good draft value there, and I think he is a good football player and only going to get that much better with another year of experience. So all in all, you kind of feel for, I like a lot of this roster, but man, that offensive line and that cornerback group does so much to negate how much I do like this squad. So moving on to realistic goal now. Offensive line is average, but even that, that's starting to feel like it might have to be a reach goal, but I don't know. Maybe there's a pathway because Miller's solid. Maybe another year starting for Andre James, he picks it up, and you can have a little bit of a weakness there at guard. And, Alex Leatherwood in year 2 gives you that other bookend tackle, maybe. But if this offensive line is average, this offense becomes legit. And that's really the main point of this realistic goal, is that the offense takes off. Josh McDaniels' scheme is great mix with Derek Carr, and Devontae Adams is just picking up right where he was in Green Bay, and Darren Waller's healthy, and there's the pieces there. But I think for the offense to be legit, the offensive line has to be meh or mid or at least average-ish. And that feels like a big kind of asterisk to lean on, considering that the names across that offensive line outside of Colton Miller. But there is a pathway, at least for 3/5 of it to be good, like Miller. Maybe Leatherwood does take that step forward in year 2, and Andre James is better as a second-year starter. Maybe. But I think if that offensive line is anywhere close to average, this offense as a whole could be great. And then we get to the reach goal. Win the AFC West. I mean, I think that is intuitive because, again, I have all 4 teams winning 10-plus games. And the margin for error is going to be razor thin. So, if the Chiefs lose a couple of games that they shouldn't, or if the Chargers come out slow, or if the Broncos have a late season, 1,000 different hypotheticals we can run through here. There is a pathway for the Raiders to take the division. I'm not saying it's a team I'm betting on or the most likely of situations, but there is a pathway. So if you think that's possible, bet them to win the AFC West at plus 650. That's what I would encourage you to do. So I don't think it's realistic, but certainly makes sense as the reach goal. And if they win the division, you're talking about a home playoff game, and kind of opens up a lot of pathways for the Raiders being a dangerous playoff contender. So let's move on to my X factors here. These are not superstars. Devontae Adams is a freak. We should expect good things. Max Crosby coming off the best year of his career, hands down. We should expect good things, right? Derek Carr, MVP candidate for the first half of last year. We should expect really good things. So these are guys I think that make a 50-50 difference. Either they exceed expectations and the team does the same, or they fall short of them and the team does the same. So hopefully that kind of illustrates what I'm going for. These are true wild card X factors here. So Alex Leatherwood, former first-round pick. A lot has been said about Alex Leatherwood and his struggles specifically last year. Can Josh McDaniels and his experience in New England, which that organization always had a good offensive line, can he get Leatherwood to take that step forward? Hopefully. I always thought of him as a better fit at guard. So again, I raise the question, is he better off moving inside to guard and having Mumford maybe be the right tackle or at least the guy battling with Brandon Parker? Maybe. But Leatherwood's going to take a step forward because, again, that offensive line outside of Colton Miller is looking really, really bad. And if that offensive line struggles, that kind of puts a cap on how crazy good this offense could be and maybe just puts it at an above average unit as opposed to legit, which it has the potential to be. And then Divine Diablo, which I already hit on, the 6'4 safety turned linebacker. I just don't know what to expect. So he's got to be an X factor here. But this is a Raiders team that struggled to find a long-term fixture and an above-average player at that linebacking position. They've spent money. They've drafted. They just have not found that guy, at least under the Mayock and Gruden regime. Ken McDaniels and Dave Ziegler have the answer here. Divine Diablo was actually drafted by Mayock and Gruden, but could he be that guy? And as the NFL continues to progress, you'll see these safety turn linebackers, especially if a guy like Divine Diablo hits. So not only for what he means for the Raiders in that defense, specifically in coverage, but also what it means for the NFL. I think Divine Diablo is an interesting X factor. And then Rock Ya-Sin, I've already talked about how much I am concerned about this cornerback room, but Rock Ya-Sin is coming off the best year of his career when it comes to Pro Football Focus grading. And while the scheme is getting more complicated for him, Matt Eberflus is one of the best defensive coaches. I think very highly of Patrick Graham, so maybe that allows him to continue the trend he left Indianapolis on. And maybe because Matt Eberflus is cover 2 heavy, it's going to a scheme that runs a fair amount of man and cover 3 and cover 2 and 4. Because they mix it up, maybe that allows Rock Ya-Sin to get that much better. And by keeping offenses on their toes more consistently, that keeps him in a better spot. That makes sense, but it does make the assignment that much harder for him as well. So it's just one of those guys where I'm not entirely sure it's gonna be a better year for Rock Ya-Sin compared to last season. But if it is, it comes at a position where the Raiders have got to get better. So that's why he's got to be an X factor, because if the Raiders don't get better at outside corner, it really doesn't matter how good the pass rush is, because teams are going to be able to have wide receivers get open in the blink of an eye, right? So Rock Ya-Sin, Trayvon Mullen, whatever corner you want to include here, they got to be X factors. Games to watch, then we'll get you out of here. No division games, because anytime the Raiders play the Chiefs, Broncos, and the Chargers, especially in that division, those are games to watch. So Week 8 against the New Orleans Saints, 2 teams, opposite conferences, but playoff contenders through the wild card, not perceived as the favorites to win the division, but bubble-ish teams, kind of scrappy, have a lot that I like, but then also like if one injury happens for the Saints, I'm concerned. If the Raiders can't figure out an answer on the offensive line and cornerback group, I am concerned. So they both have like these little avenues to where I immediately start to fade them, but at the same time, there's so much to like with, the Raiders, the offensive firepower, and the Saints. It's a great defense. And then the investment at wide receiver with Jameis there. Can he continue where he was at before the injury last year? So there's things to like, and I just think these two teams are kind of competitively balanced with one another. So be a fun one to watch. And also Marshawn Lattimore versus Devontae Adams. That get your popcorn ready. That feels fun. Week 10, a couple weeks later against the Colts. This is a team that the Raiders lost to last year in Indianapolis. So that's a tough one. And this is going to be two teams battling for AFC wildcard positioning, so of course that is important. But also where these two teams match up with one another, where I don't think the Colts are very good on the outside. That could open up an opportunity for Devontae Adams to go absolutely crazy. But on the other side, I'm also concerned about the Raiders secondary, right? So can Matt Ryan have a big game? Can Michael Pittman show out in this game? So actually, I want to correct one thing. The Raiders beat the Colts in Indianapolis late last year, Week 17. That was one of the big games that Rich Bisaccia and crew needed to get in the playoffs. So I apologize for misspeaking there. But can the Raiders make it back-to-back years, taking down the Colts? Again, it's going to have playoff implications, especially if the Colts do not win the AFC South like I am predicting them to. If they're a wildcard team, there's obviously a lot of line between them and the Raiders. Then the New England Patriots, very similar talking points where wildcard implications left, right, and center. But also Bill Belichick versus Josh McDaniels. Awesome coaching battle. It's on Sunday Night Football. It's late in the year. That's going to develop the rhetoric we talk about these two teams with for the rest of the season, both the Patriots and the Raiders, as they both look to make their late season push into the playoffs. So what are the talking points coming to that game? I cannot wait to find out. How does Josh McDaniels look against Bill Belichick? None of his disciples have looked good, but so many of his disciples have been on the defensive side. What does McDaniels look like as a longtime OC under Bill Belichick? What can he do against the greatest coach in NFL history? So I'm fascinated to find out, but that's going to do it for my Las Vegas Raiders season preview video. Tell me what you think about this squad down below in the comment section. How many wins do you think they come away with? Who are some true X factors, and what are some games you're looking forward to watching this year? Love to have your thoughts. It's a conversation down below, so let me hear your takeaways about the Raiders in the comments section. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Help me out a ton. If you're new around here, want to see more sports content, just hit that big red subscribe button. That's going to do it for me. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej. I'm signing off.